Hey, tonight we're going to Brazil, to a city called Fortaleza, where the sun bakes the streets into a shimmering ribbon of heat, and the air hangs thick and sweet with the scent of salt from the nearby ocean. Imagine a busy street corner in the middle of the afternoon. Cars inch along, their radios playing soft samba music. Street vendors call out, selling cold drinks and grilled snacks. Life is loud and vibrant and happening all on the surface. But if you could stop for a moment and listen past the noise, listen deeper, you might feel a faint vibration in the soles of your shoes, a low rhythmic tremor. The kind of thing you'd dismiss as a passing truck or distant construction. You'd never guess it was the sound of a story beginning. A story unfolding in the cool, patient darkness, just a few meters beneath the feet of a city that had no idea it was being watched from below. Somewhere in a quiet, rented house with peeling paint and sun-faded curtains, a man named Paulo is not listening to the city. He is looking at a blueprint. He is a former engineer, a man who once built bridges designed to last for 100 years. But the world had stopped wanting things that lasted. It wanted things that were fast and cheap and temporary. And Paulo was not a temporary man. The blueprint on his table is not for a bridge. It is a map of the city's heart. And the tool in his hand is not a pen. It is a promise to himself. A promise to build one last thing, something perfect, something no one will ever see until it is far too late. So before we begin this descent, take a moment to find your own quiet place. Let the sounds of your own world fade into the background. Dim your screen, let your shoulders fall, and let's tunnel into the heart of this story together.
The house smells of damp earth and old wood. A single fan turns slowly from the ceiling, its blade stirring the thick, warm air without offering any real relief. It's a sound that doesn't mark time, but rather blurs it. Paulo sits at a simple wooden table. His hands, usually stained with ink or graphite from his drafting days, are now covered in a fine layer of reddish-brown soil. He doesn't wipe them. The dirt feels honest. Fortaleza, outside his window, is a city of brilliant light and deep shadows. It is a place of energy, of commerce, of life lived out loud on the streets. But Paulo has turned his back on the sun. His world is now the cool, predictable darkness that waits beneath the floorboards. He is in his late 40s, with the patient eyes of a man who knows how to wait for concrete to set, for steel to settle, for a plan to ripen. But there is a weariness in those eyes, too. The weariness of a man whose precision is no longer valued in the world above. He is not a criminal, not in his own mind. He is a problem solver. And the problem that has captured his imagination is one of immense and beautiful difficulty. The vault of the Banco Central, a fortress of steel and reinforced concrete buried in the center of the city. To rob it from the front would be foolish, an act of brute force. But to approach it from below, to build a silent, secret road through the earth itself, that was not a crime. That was an engineering challenge. It was art. The back door creaks open. A man named Silas steps inside, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. Silas is not an engineer. He is a former miner. A man whose hands understand rock and soil in a way that blueprints never could. He is practical, grounded, and deeply skeptical of plans that sound too much like poetry. "The generator is making a strange noise," Silas says, his voice a low rumble. "And the neighbors are asking about the truck." Paulo doesn't look up from the blueprint. His finger traces a line beneath a sewer main. He says softly, "The noise is a loose belt. I will fix it. And the truck? The truck is delivering supplies for our new artificial grass company." Silas grunts. They had painted a crude logo on the side of the house. Grama Sintética, synthetic grass. A business that required digging, moving soil, and bringing in sand. A perfect, boring cover for an impossible task. It was Paolo's idea. Silas had thought it was too clever, too much like something from a movie. But so far, it had worked. A small group of men are waiting in the main room. They are not from Fortaleza. They are from the interior, men with calloused hands and quiet dispositions. They are Silas's crew. They trust him, but they watch Paolo with a mixture of awe and suspicion. This quiet, thoughtful man, with his endless drawings and soft-spoken commands, was asking them to do something that defied logic. To dig a tunnel nearly 80 meters long under active streets to a federal bank. The conversation is short, focused. They talk about the soil composition, sandy, then clay, then a layer of hard rock that will require special tools. They talk about the disposal of the earth, ton after ton of it, which they have been bagging and selling as landscaping fill at a price so low that no one asks questions. We hit a water pipe this morning, a small one. We patched it. Paolo finally looks up. His eyes are calm, but intense. Did you check the city schematics before you patched it? The young man hesitates. No, we just fixed the leak. Paolo stands up. He moves not with anger, but with a profound, unsettling stillness. The fan continues its slow, rhythmic turning. Every action has a reaction. An unrecorded patch can change the pressure in the system. It can create a sinkhole a block away. It can alert a city worker who is paid to notice things that are not on his map. He walks over to a large chart on the wall, a detailed cross-section of the earth beneath them. He picks up a pencil. Show me exactly where you patched it.
The men watch. They are used to bosses who yell, who threaten. They are not used to a boss whose quiet disappointment feels heavier than any shout. In that moment, they understand. This is not just a job. It is a delicate, living thing. And Paolo is not its boss. He is its guardian. Later that night, after the crew has left, Paolo remains at the table. He has fixed the generator's belt. The hum is smooth and steady now. The city outside has quieted to a low murmur. He walks to the center of the main room, where a large square of the floor has been removed. A wooden ladder descends into a perfectly square, timber-framed hole. He climbs down. The air changes immediately. It is cool, damp, and smells of the deep earth. A string of bare light bulbs illuminates the tunnel stretching out before him. It is not a crude hole. It is a masterpiece of engineering. The walls are smooth, braced with wooden timbers at precise intervals. The floor is level, with a slight grade for drainage. There is even a simple pulley system for hauling out bags of soil. He walks the length of the tunnel, his hand running along the wooden supports. This is his creation, his bridge to a different kind of life. He can feel the city above him, the weight of it, the life of it. But down here, there is only the plan. There is only the slow, steady progress toward a single, silent point. He reaches the end of the tunnel, the face of the dig. He picks up a small hand tool, a pickaxe, and swings it gently. A piece of dark, compacted clay falls away. He kneels, crumbling the earth in his fingers. He is not thinking about the money. He is thinking about the remaining 20 meters, about the layers of rock and concrete that still lie between him and the vault. He knows he is being watched, not by the police, not yet, but by the city itself, by the complex web of pipes and wires and foundations that he is so carefully navigating. The city is a sleeping giant, and he is a surgeon performing a delicate operation, praying the patient does not wake. His phone buzzes, a simple text message from a number he does not have saved. The inspector is asking about soil erosion on Rua 25 de Marzo. That is the street directly above the tunnel. Paolo types back a single word: when. The reply is immediate: tomorrow morning. He deletes the conversation, stands up, and walks back down the long, silent tunnel. He knows what he must do. It is time to reinforce the ceiling. A long, difficult night awaits. But Paulo is not worried. Problems are simply questions that have not been answered yet. And in the cool, quiet dark, he has all the time in the world to find the right answer. The fan will keep turning, the city will keep humming, and the work will continue. Silently, patiently, perfectly.
The sun rises over Fortaleza with a tropical fierceness, bleaching the sky and sending people in search of shade. On Rua 25 de Marzo, a man in a crisp city uniform kneels down, examining a hairline crack in the pavement. This is Inspector Alves. He is not a detective, but a civil engineer for the city, a man paid to worry about infrastructure, about soil stability, about the slow, invisible decay that can bring a city to its knees. Alves is a man of details. He notices things others miss. The way a new patch of asphalt seems to settle too quickly. The unusual amount of dust accumulating in the gutters on a quiet side street. He has been watching this neighborhood for weeks. There is a strange hum to it, a subtle vibration he can't quite place. His colleagues tell him it is the heat or his imagination, but Alves trusts his senses more than their dismissals. He makes a note in his logbook, a small, precise entry about monitoring the area for subsidence. Then he moves on. Beneath his feet, Paulo and his team have just finished a grueling night. They have reinforced a 10-meter section of the tunnel ceiling with extra timbers and steel plates they had stockpiled for just such an emergency. They worked in near silence, their movements economical, their faces grim with exhaustion. Paulo had overseen it all, not with frantic energy, but with the calm focus of a watchmaker reassembling a delicate movement. Every support had to be perfect. Every millimeter mattered. Now, as the city above them wakes, the team sleeps in shifts in the back rooms of the rented house. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and stale coffee. But Paulo does not sleep. He sits at his table, the city blueprints spread before him like a sacred text. He is studying the path of a major electrical conduit that runs near the bank. A new problem has presented itself. The plans he acquired, which are 6 months old, show the conduit 3 meters to the left of their intended path. But his own sensitive instruments, a collection of modified geological sensors, are telling him it is closer, much closer. To hit it would not only be catastrophic for their plan, it would plunge half the city into darkness and bring every inspector, including Alves, running. Silas finds him there, staring at the blueprints, his coffee untouched. "You should sleep, Paulo," he says, his voice rough with fatigue. "The ceiling is strong. We are safe." "Safety is temporary," Paulo murmurs, his finger tracing the line of the conduit. "We are navigating by an old map. The city has changed. So we dig around it. We go a little deeper. We lose a day, maybe 2. It is not the problem." Paulo looks at Silas. "A day is a lifetime when you are holding your breath. Every hour we are down there, we increase the chances of a mistake, a sound, a vibration, a crack in the pavement that Inspector Alves decides to look at more closely." The mention of the inspector's name sobers Silas. He knows Paulo has a contact, someone on the inside who feeds him information. He does not know who it is, and he does not want to know. Some knowledge is a weight he does not wish to carry. "What do you propose?" Silas asks. "We don't go around it, and we don't go under it. We go through it."
Silas stares at him. "Go through a live, high-voltage electrical conduit? Paulo, have you lost your mind?" "I did not say we would touch it," Paulo replies patiently. He points to the blueprint. The conduit is housed inside a larger concrete casing, 6 inches thick. The city plans show it. We do not need to break the conduit. We only need to pass through the empty space in the casing. "And how do you plan to cut through 6 inches of reinforced concrete without making a sound that the entire neighborhood can hear?" Silas asks, his voice tight with disbelief. Paulo allows himself a small, rare smile. He stands and walks to a heavy locked crate in the corner of the room. He opens it. Inside, nestled in custom-cut foam, is a tool Silas has never seen before. It looks like a large drill, but the tip is not a bit. It is a series of polished, diamond-tipped wheels. It is a hydraulic press, Polo explains, used for taking core samples from rock formations. It doesn't drill, it doesn't hammer, it presses. It slowly, silently grinds the concrete into dust. I have modified it to be almost completely silent. The only sound will be a soft hiss, like air escaping a tire. Silas stares at the machine, then back at Polo. He shakes his head slowly. The man was either a genius or a madman, and Silas was no longer sure which was more dangerous. The next few weeks are study in maddening patience. The digging slows to a crawl. The silent press is moved into the tunnel, a slow, laborious process. It works exactly as Polo said it would, grinding away at the concrete casing of the electrical conduit, producing a fine gray dust that they carefully bag and mix with the other soil. They work in short bursts, timed to coincide with the passing of heavy trucks on the street above, their noise masking the faint hiss of the machine. During this time, Polo becomes more withdrawn, more obsessive. He barely eats. He pores over his instruments, monitoring seismic activity, magnetic fields, the subtle rhythms of the earth and the city. He is listening for a single wrong note in a complex symphony. One afternoon, he detects something new, a faint, repeating electronic pulse. It is coming from the direction of the bank. It is not on any of his schematics. It is new. An alarm? A sensor. He spends 2 days analyzing the pulse. He compares its frequency to known security systems. Finally, he identifies it. It is a new generation of seismic sensor, designed to detect vibrations from drilling or explosives. It is installed on the walls of the vault. He calls Silas into the room and points to the data on his monitor. They have upgraded their security. Silas's face pales. Then it is over. We cannot get through the vault floor without triggering that. The sensor is on the walls, Polo says calmly, not the floor. How can you be sure? Because of the frequency. It is designed to detect high-frequency vibrations that travel horizontally through concrete walls. It is less sensitive to lower-frequency vibrations from below. They are worried about someone drilling through the side. They have become complacent about the ground beneath them. Polo taps the screen. They never look down. That night, Polo does something unusual. He leaves the house. He walks through the streets of Fortaleza, not as an engineer, but as an anonymous man. He walks past the bank, a grand, imposing building that seems to mock the city around it. He feels the vibrations of the traffic under his feet. He looks at the people passing by, living their lives in the warm, open air. He feels a strange sense of detachment, as if he is a visitor from another world, a world of darkness and silence and cool, damp earth. He knows that his creation, his perfect tunnel, is just meters away, a secret river flowing beneath the bustling city. The final phase is about to begin. The risk is at its highest. But as he stands there, watching the lights of Fortaleza, Polo feels a profound sense of peace. The problem is almost solved. The art is almost complete. The air in the tunnel is thick with anticipation. It is a living thing, a mixture of cool earth, faint ozone from the electrical wiring, and the metallic tang of human sweat. For nearly 3 months, this 80-meter passage has been their entire world, a secret artery connecting a humble house to the heart of the city's wealth. The crew, a tight-knit group of no more than 25 men, move with the quiet efficiency of a trained unit. They have long since shed their initial skepticism of Polo. They have seen his plans become reality. His calm predictions avert disaster. They have come to trust his stillness more than another man's orders. Tonight is different. The usual rhythm of digging, hauling, and bracing has been replaced by a tense, focused silence. They are at the end. The tunnel stops directly beneath the vault of the Banco Central. Above them lies 1.1 meters of steel-reinforced concrete, the final door. Polo is there, of course. He is not dressed in his usual simple clothes. He wears clean, dark overalls, like the rest of the crew. Tonight, he is not just the architect, he is one of them. He kneels on the packed earth, his hand resting on the low ceiling. He can feel it, a low, almost imperceptible hum from the vault above, the hum of electricity, of security, of money resting in the dark. Silas is beside him, his face a mask of concentration. In front of them lies the final tool of their trade, not the silent press, but a series of hydraulic jacks and a specialized diamond-tipped circular saw. Their work must be precise. A sound too loud, a vibration too sharp, and the new seismic sensors on the vault walls might awaken. Polo gives a quiet nod. The operation begins.
It is not a dramatic breach. There is no explosion, no crash. It is a slow, surgical procedure. The crew uses the saw to cut a large square outline into the concrete above them. The sound is a high-pitched whine, but Paulo has chosen this weekend for a reason. It is a local holiday, and a massive street festival is taking place a few blocks away. The sounds of fireworks and loud music provide a perfect, chaotic blanket for their own discreet noise. He has studied the festival schedule for weeks, timing their most audacious work to coincide with the grand finale of the fireworks display. Imagine the scene. Deep underground, a group of men in dim light, their faces illuminated by bare bulbs, carefully guiding a high-powered saw through layers of concrete and steel. Above them, the night sky of Fortaleza explodes in bursts of red and gold. The cheers of the crowd and the boom of the fireworks shaking the very ground they stand on. It is a symphony of deception, a perfect marriage of chaos and control. Once the square is cut, the hydraulic jacks are positioned. Slowly, painstakingly, they begin to push upwards. There is a groan of stressed metal, a low cracking sound that makes every man hold his breath. Then, with a soft sigh, the massive slab of concrete and rebar, weighing several tons, lifts upwards and settles into the vault floor. They have not broken in, they have simply opened the door. A ladder is placed into the opening. Silas is the first one to climb up. He disappears into the darkness for a moment, then his head reappears. He gives a single, sharp nod. Paulo is the last to ascend. He steps from the damp, earthy tunnel of his own creation into the sterile, cold, climate-controlled air of the vault. The transition is jarring. He has spent months in the dark, and now he stands in a massive room, the size of a small house, filled with a sight that is almost impossible to comprehend. It is not gold bars or sparkling jewels. It is cash, Brazilian reals. But it is not stacked in neat piles like in the movies. It is stored in large steel containers, each holding thousands of bundles of used banknotes. The bills are on their way to be inspected and, if too worn, destroyed. This was a key part of Paulo's plan. The money was not new, not sequentially numbered. It was old, anonymous, and untraceable, and there was a staggering amount of it. The crew works with a disciplined urgency. They form a human chain, passing tools and bags from the tunnel into the vault. They pry open the containers. Inside, the money is bundled and wrapped in plastic, an ocean of currency. The initial estimates were high,
but the reality is overwhelming. They begin the process of moving the money. It is not a frantic grab, it is a logistical operation. They fill large canvas bags, each one holding a specific weight. The bags are then lowered down into the tunnel. It is slow, heavy work. The sheer volume is their biggest challenge. Bag after bag is passed down the line, a river of money flowing out of the bank and into the earth. The operation takes hours. All through the night as the festival goers of Fortaleza stumble home and the city finally falls into a deep, tropical sleep, the silent work continues beneath its streets. Paulo does not participate in moving the money. He stands to one side, watching. He observes the angle of the ropes, the strain on the pulley system, the fatigue in his men's faces. He is still the engineer, ensuring his system performs flawlessly under maximum load. As the first hint of dawn approaches, the final bag is lowered down. The vault is not empty, but it is significantly lighter. They have taken what they can physically carry. The slab of concrete is carefully lowered back into place, fitting so perfectly that the cut is almost invisible from above. They retreat, one by one, back down the ladder, back into the familiar darkness of the tunnel. Paulo is the last to leave the vault, taking one final look at the quiet, cavernous room. He has not taken a single banknote for himself. His reward was not the money. It was the sight of the perfectly executed cut in the floor, the quiet hum of the ventilation system he designed, the successful completion of the most elegant problem he had ever faced. He descends the ladder, pulling it down after him. The crew is already beginning the final stage of the plan, the escape. They move back through their creation, their footsteps echoing in the long, dark passage. They are no longer diggers. They are ghosts, disappearing back into the earth, leaving behind an empty space where a fortune once resided and a mystery that would soon captivate a nation. The escape was as meticulously planned as the tunnel itself. There was no mad dash for freedom, no squealing tires in the night. It was a quiet, deliberate dissolving, like sugar in water. The crew simply disappeared back into the fabric of the city they had so cleverly undermined. As the team made their way back through the 80-meter tunnel for the last time, their path illuminated by the string of bare bulbs that had been their sun for months, a separate part of the plan was already in motion. Back at the rented house, a small, dedicated crew was working to erase their existence. The artificial grass signs were taken down. The tools were packed away. The remaining bags of soil were loaded onto the truck. Every surface was wiped clean of fingerprints. They worked with the efficiency of a movie crew striking a set. By the time the digging team emerged from the hole in the floor, tired and covered in dust, the house was already transforming back into an anonymous empty shell. The money, an immense pile of canvas bags, was quickly loaded into a larger, nondescript commercial van. The logistics were precise. Paulo had calculated the total weight and volume, ensuring the van they had purchased could handle the load without its suspension looking suspiciously low.
Then came the final, most crucial act of disappearance. The crew, the men from the interior who had spent months in the dark, did not linger. They were paid their share in cash right there in the empty house. They changed into clean clothes, collected their belongings, and left in small, staggered groups. They boarded buses, heading back to their distant towns and villages, their pockets heavy, their faces anonymous in the pre-dawn crowds of the bus station. They were instructed to live quietly, to not make any large, sudden purchases, to become, once again, the invisible men they had always been. Paulo and Silas watched them go. There were no grand farewells, just quiet nods and a shared understanding. They had accomplished the impossible together. With the crew gone,
Paulo and Silas completed the final cleanup. The hole in the floor was covered with a new section of flooring, the seams expertly hidden. The furniture was rearranged to look as if no one had ever moved it. They left nothing behind. No stray hairs, no fingerprints, no forgotten tools. As the sun began to cast its first golden rays over Fortaleza, Paulo, Silas, and a handful of the core planners drove away in the van laden with millions. They did not speed, they did not run red lights, they merged into the light morning traffic, just another van making its way through the waking city. They followed a pre-planned route through a maze of side streets, eventually reaching a small, discreet warehouse on the industrial outskirts of the city. There, the money was divided. A significant portion was transferred to other vehicles destined for different parts of the country. The perfect crime required a perfect dispersal. Paulo took a surprisingly small share for himself. He had never been motivated by immense wealth. He was driven by the challenge, the process. He watched as the vans departed, each one carrying a piece of his success in a different direction. He and Silas shook hands one last time. "Be careful, Paulo," Silas said, his voice low. "You too, my friend, disappear." And that is what they did. Paulo did not fly to a tropical island or buy a mansion. He simply faded away. He drove a modest car out of Fortaleza, taking the winding coastal roads, becoming just another traveler on the vast network of Brazilian highways. His engineering masterpiece, the tunnel, was left behind, a silent testament to his genius, waiting to be discovered. On Monday morning, the employees of the Banco Central began their work week. The atmosphere was normal. The guards at the front door noticed nothing amiss. Tellers counted their drawers. Managers drank their coffee. It wasn't until mid-morning that a bank official entered the vault for a routine check. At first, everything seemed fine. The massive steel door had not been tampered with. The alarms had not been triggered. But then he saw it. A faint outline on the floor, a subtle discoloration. He knelt down and saw the almost invisible cut. He touched it, and a section of the floor shifted. He peered into the darkness and saw the gaping hole leading down into the earth. Panic erupted. The bank was locked down. The federal police were called. The scene was one of disbelief and chaos. How could this happen? How could someone enter one of the most secure vaults in the country without a single alarm being triggered? The investigation began with a sense of awe. The police descended into the tunnel. They were stunned by what they found. It was not a crude, desperate burrow. It was a work of art. It was ventilated, lit, and expertly braced. It snaked its way perfectly under the city streets, avoiding every major obstacle. The trail led them, of course, to the rented house. They broke down the door to find an empty, clean space. It was a ghost house. Forensic teams scoured the property, but the perpetrators had been meticulous. They found very little. A few stray fibers, a faint scent of damp earth, and the lingering impression of a plan so audacious it bordered on fiction. The story exploded in the media. "The heist of the century," the headlines screamed. The public was captivated. Who were these masterminds, these ghost-like tunnelers who had outsmarted the entire federal banking system? Inspector Alves, the quiet civil engineer, read the stories with a grim sense of validation. He had known something was wrong. He had felt the hum beneath the street. The investigation was massive and far-reaching. The police began the painstaking work of trying to trace the untraceable. They looked for the renters of the house who had used false documents. They looked for any unusual sales of landscaping supplies or landscaping services. They began to monitor large cash transactions across the country. Slowly, over months and years, they began to get lucky. One of the crew members, despite Paulo's warnings, bought an expensive new car with cash. This single mistake led to his arrest, and under questioning, he gave up a few other names. The police began to unravel the edges of the conspiracy. They eventually identified Silas and some of the other core planners. A series of arrests were made across Brazil. Some of the money was recovered, but it was only a small fraction of the total haul. The vast majority of the estimated 164 million reals had vanished, absorbed into the immense economy of the country. But one name remained elusive. The police had a profile of the mastermind. They knew he was brilliant, meticulous, likely an engineer or architect. They had a ghost, a phantom they called the professor. But they had no name, no face, no history. Paulo had disappeared completely. He had built his perfect creation, and then, like a true artist, he had vanished, leaving only his work behind. The aftermath of the Banco Central heist became a modern legend in Brazil. The story was told and retold in cafes and bars, each telling adding a new layer of myth. The tunnel became a symbol of cunning defiance against a faceless system. For years, the mystery of the mastermind, of Paulo, lingered. Was he living a life of quiet luxury somewhere? Had he been betrayed and silenced by his own crew? Or was he, as some romanticized, already planning his next great project, searching for another impossible problem to solve? The police never stopped looking. Every few years, a new lead would surface, a new theory would emerge, but Paulo remained a ghost. He had achieved the ultimate goal of any master planner, not just to succeed, but to become a story, to build something perfect, and then, like a true artist, to vanish, leaving only his work behind. As the story of the tunnel fades, let your own thoughts begin to drift. Let the image of the dark, quiet earth become a warm, comfortable blanket. There are no more problems to solve tonight, no more plans to make. The work is done. Feel the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. A slow, easy rise and fall, like the tide on a quiet beach. Let each breath carry you a little deeper into rest. Let the quiet of Paulo's tunnel fill your mind. A peaceful, empty space with no distractions. Your eyelids are heavy now. Your body is still. You are safe and sound, far from the heat of Fortaleza, far from the mystery of the missing millions. There is only this moment, this quiet, this gentle descent into a deep and restorative sleep. The story is over. Your night is just beginning. Sleep well. Dream peacefully. Good night.